A man is back in his old neighborhood because he's attending a funeral and finds himself wandering over to an odd old house at the end of the lane that he used to visit as a child. As he sits reminiscing, we get to hear about his crazy childhood adventure involving the residents of that household. Some people have classified The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman as YA, and others have called it adult. But I would say that regardless, it's definitely a magical realism. An interesting tidbit about this book is that it started out as a short story, and then Gaiman ended up getting into it enough to feel like it needed to be its own little novel. I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars in Goodreads, and here is my review. Hey everybody, it's Jackie, and like I just said, today I am here to review The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Let's start out with all of the positive things that I liked about this book and thought were done well. First of all, as I expected from Neil Gaiman, it's written really beautifully. Neil Gaiman's writing is always great, but one thing I thought he did a really good job on was capturing that feeling of childhood. Like if I was a kid reading this book, I would feel like, yes, this guy understands. For me, it felt very nostalgic of my own childhood. Another thing that Gaiman does really well is layering his story so that it appeals really well to both kids and adults. It's sort of like watching your favorite Disney movie or something for the first time since you were a kid, and all of a sudden you understand all these jokes and hidden meanings and stuff that you never picked up on as a child but you appreciate as an adult. That's sort of what Gaiman does in this. Because essentially what happens is our narrator goes to the end of the lane and he goes to this house and meets a girl named Letty and becomes friends with her. Letty lives there with her mother and grandmother, and when Letty takes him on this adventure, some kind of strange and mysterious magical things start happening. But there's a consequence. When he comes back, he finds that this monster from wherever they were has sort of made its way back into their world, and it starts disrupting his life. The monster seems kind of unstoppable and really powerful, much more powerful than our narrator. So if I were a kid reading this book, I would just think that what I was afraid of was the monster, was the fact that this thing that's not meant to be there has invaded into his life, and that would be what would scare me. As an adult reading it though, I can tell that what's actually scary is the fact that the monster makes him unable to trust his parents. It makes him unable to feel safe in his own home. It makes him feel like he has even less control than kids already don't have. Essentially, it makes him feel trapped and alone. It's sort of the same thing that scared me in Coraline when I read that as a younger child. The thing that was so scary about it was not just that this world that Coraline found was turning against her, it was the fact that all of a sudden this mother figure had turned into a monster. And there's nothing scarier than your own parents becoming monsters, because you're taught as a kid that your parents are supposed to love you and take care of you and that you should never be afraid of them. So when that instability comes in, it's really scary. So I just thought that was so well done, that it really played on real life fears but then made it sort of less scary in some ways by blaming it on the supernatural monster, so that it actually has a quick fix instead of in real life where these things of not feeling safe in your home don't just go away. In this case, all he has to do is try to get rid of this monster and then life will go back to normal. I just thought that was really cool and well done. Another thing I liked about this book was the supernatural wasn't just scary, it was also just magical and really cool. Since our narrator is a child, he doesn't question any of the magic stuff that happens, he just goes with it. Like, as a kid, you still believe in magic, so if it happens right in front of your face, you're just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll just go with it. No questions asked. It was nice to be able to just let go and go with it with our narrator. I also just really like the Hemstock women who live at that house at the end of the lane. They're very mysterious and you don't really understand like what they are. They're clearly a little supernatural themselves, but you're not really sure what's going on. But they're just very strong and calm and powerful in the way that little kids often see adults being. Like when you think of, if you have a good relationship with like your grandparents or your parents, then you just sort of see them as this rock, as this really powerful person who can just take care of anything and you don't have to worry about it and they just take care of you. That's what the Hemstock women do for our narrator. They are just sort of this powerful, calming presence, and I really like that. This book also has some really great quotes, so I'll read you a few. Nobody actually looks like what they really are on the inside. You don't, I don't. People are much more complicated than that. It's true of everybody. And also, monsters come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them are things people are scared of. Some of them are things that look like things people used to be scared of a long time ago. Sometimes monsters are things people should be scared of but aren't. Another one is, adults are content to walk the same way hundreds of times or thousands. Perhaps it never occurs to adults to step off the paths. to creep beneath rhododendrons to find the spaces between fences. And my absolute favorite one, which occurs when our narrator is talking to the Hempstock women near the end. And did I pass? The face of the old woman on my right was unreadable in the gathering dusk. On my left, the younger woman said, "You don't pass or fail at being a person, dear." I just thought all of those were so great. There's a lot of wisdom in this book, I think. So I really liked this book, but all that being said, I can still see why some people might not enjoy it as much as I did. When I was looking on Goodreads at other people's reviews, a reoccurring thing in the more negative reviews was this idea that this book relies really heavily on nostalgia. It's really great for kids who are the same age as our narrator. It's also good for adults who want to feel a little bit nostalgic for some of the better parts of their own childhood, who have had some distance between their age now and their childhoods. It might not actually appeal as much to middle schoolers and teenagers, the ones all in between those two phases of life. They're more interested in feeling older, not younger, so they might not like this book as much. So yeah, I saw that in a couple of Goodreads reviews, and I thought that was a really interesting point. I didn't have that problem, but give it a read and then decide for yourself. It's very short, so you can get through it pretty quickly. And that's it for me, so hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you have read this book, then let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. My name is Jackie, and this has been a review, and I'll see you in my next one, and hope you guys have a great day. Bye!